Hello. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Kieran Yates. I am a journalist, and it is my absolute pleasure to be in conversation with Olivier Robert-Murphy from Universal Music Group. Could we have a round of applause, please?
Thank you. Thank you.
For you.
Thank you so much.
Now, Olivier, your title that I understand is the Global Head of New Business at Universal Music Group, but you also have a more poetic title as well. Do you want to tell us what that is and what that means?
What, Chief of Possibilities?
Chief of Possibilities, yes. What do you mean by that?
Well, my job at Universal is to make sure that artists and brands work together. And it might be a surprise to you, but there is always a possibility. So the only job is to find it.
Mm-hmm. Which kind of leads us into the conversation that we're going to be having today, which is really about creativity and you being someone who enables people to find their own creativity. But what does that mean to you when you think about creativity as a concept?
Well, if you want a definition of creativity, I'm not sure it's going to be possible. However, Albert Einstein was saying that creativity is intelligence with fun. And Charles Saatchi was saying, from Saatchi and Saatchi, he was saying it's a conflict of idea, which is interesting because if you look at these two definitions, it's actually both of them are true. I believe creativity is very subjective, and that's the beauty of it.
And what do you think are some of the myths surrounding the notion of something so subjective?
In terms of myth, we always believe that creativity is a gift. You know, people say, I'm so creative, I'm born like this. This is rubbish. Creativity, I was on stage not long ago with Jack Jones. Jack Jones is a famous artist, DJ from the UK, you probably know.
Yep.
And he was telling me, creativity is a muscle you need to train every day. And he forced himself to, once a day, an hour a day, to compose and to write lyrics. And he goes under this principle of trial, fail, fix. It doesn't matter. Let's be creative. I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fix it and do it again and again and again.
It's interesting when you talk about the sort of more abstract side of things, because in both our jobs, abstractively, I mean, myself as a journalist and at your work at Universal, there's a lot of judging the subjective nature of creativity. So how do you begin to judge such a thing?
So I was lucky to be president of a jury at Lion last year, and you have to judge. I think they do that quite well, to tell you the truth, because as I explained, creativity is very subjective. What they do, they put 15, 20 people in the room with different background, different nationality, different industry, all with their own expertise. And together, they could judge creativity. That's how it works. It's a collaboration works. To give, Grand Prix and awards. But if you have to give some parameters of judgment, I will see 3 of them. The first one is the purpose of the idea. Why are you doing this? The second one is probably the emotions. What does that do? What's this new creative stuff do to me? Does it make me angry? Does it make me laugh? Does it make me cry? Whatever. And the third one, it's about the impact. Any idea needs to have an impact. If not, it's good to have ideas, but if it doesn't do anything, what's the point of it? So really, it's about the purpose. Actually, you give me an idea. We have a video, we prepared a video I'm going to show you in a second, but let me introduce it first. Last year, go, play it.
That nothing you do can have been done before. As the brand with original in its name, we decided to prove that what's been done before can be done again. With everything we did. Starting with the most overdone track.
And more, much more than this.
I did it mine.
And doing it like never before.
Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew.
An anthem created with a new generation of musicians, every sound reappropriated from what came before. Joining it, an original film made with nothing original. Every scene an ode to the past and what it could become. Then, we prepared the world for a new take on our message. And on music's biggest night, we owned not only the big screen, but the second screen. 3 more music videos during the award show, remixed until they were new again.
One of the greatest of them all, Dog Sinatra. In pocket with the rocket, I cock it, I gotcha.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra, always do it my way.
The remixes took on a life of their own, making Adidas Originals the most talked about brand on Grammys night, while the anthem ignited social media. Supported by a hack of Instagram Live and Snapchat takeovers, culminating in over 500 pieces of unique content. Even now, the campaign continues its assault on originality, hitting more than 149 countries, bolstered by media across every touch point.
Another looming issue for the swoosh is global number 2 Adidas.
Lifestyle products up 45%.
Proving that even if it's all been done before, original can be done again.
Let me explain what I like this campaign. The first thing is, we gave a Grand Prix to this campaign. You could watch it 10 times, you will still discover new stuff, new creative stuff in what they did. The second thing interesting about this, they used I don't want to say old brand, but a brand with a lot of existence, the original trainers, with the most overused songs ever, My Way, from Frank Sinatra, and still they managed to create something totally new and relevant to the audience of today. That's why I like that.
I love the campaign because you can almost imagine the internal conversations around it. Someone saying, we want to use Frank Sinatra's My Way, and someone else saying, well, how are you going to do that?
That's true.
But I suppose those internal conversations are part of the challenges to having creative ideas, something you must come up against a lot. So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing creativity in your industry today?
There could be, in a world of globalizations, you need to stay culturally relevant. I think it's very important. It's very important. So how you could be locally relevant and at the same time offering an idea that resonates everywhere around the world. That's one of the challenge. The second one for me will be about, we live in a world, we had the Web Summit, in the world of multiple screen. You know, kids today, they watch, well, first they don't watch TV, but they watch 3 different screens at the same time, switching. Attention span of the millennials is 14 seconds. The Gen Z who follow is 7 seconds, so that tells you. So how could you have an idea that worked across all these multiple screens and platforms and grab the attention spans is needed?
And the idea of being engaged and being culturally relevant, I thought also is really well illustrated in that Adidas campaign, because they have these local celebrities that are from London, the Mabels and the Stormzy. It feels like it's been part of a conversation where people have engaged in what is popular, what people are really listening to, as opposed to from the top town and missing some things along the way, which can sometimes happen.
I agree with that.
So with that in mind, when you see those sorts of campaigns, when you see these kinds of cultural relevant moments, what really excites you about the industry today?
Tech. Tech makes the impossible possible. And it's a virtuous circle, because you could create an idea, but we create tech. And then thanks to this tech, you could create a new idea, and it become a positive story. So we are Web Summit. You know, tech is in every household today. So I do like that.
What's one example of a tech-related thing that you've been quite excited by?
Well, okay. You know Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek started this book, right? He called it Start with a Why. And he's explaining that he gave the example of Apple, who doesn't sell really computer and mobile phone. They're selling a way of thinking differently through great design and innovations. And I second that, because a lot of brands are following that as well. If you think Coca-Cola provides you happiness, and Red Bull, you work for Red Bull a bit.
Yes.
They give you wings, you know. Universal Music, we provide emotions and moments.
Yes.
And so all this tech that Apple is doing is actually bringing something else. And all these creative guys, communities, came out with this brilliant software. And this new software will oblige Apple to create something else. And it's a virtuous circle.
And that's interesting. I haven't actually thought about it in that way before. But how do you think that it is really impacting the creative landscape of your industry? What are some of the things that you think is really thrilling in the creative landscape of what you're doing?
Yeah. In our industry, we're lucky to be surrounded by creative minds. By definition, an artist is a creative person. And so they're always very quick to embrace everything. I'm sure you know Black Eyed Peas, and for example, will.i.am is a complete fond of every gadget and all of this. And they embrace it. I see many, many artists becoming creative directors of brands.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga did it, etc., etc. And so brands understood very quickly, actually, these guys are really creative people. They could help me not only having a song on a TV ad, but more creating new stuff.
Yes. And I think that that's an interesting point, because for us in the audience who may be exposed to music artists or that level of creativity, we don't always have access to people who are doing your job. So the decisions that are being made behind closed doors, those internal conversations about, you know, how a creative moment or one artist differentiates from one another.
True.
So what for you recently has really excited you recently? What has spoken to you creatively that you've seen?
It's actually a campaign we did recently that comes to mind when you're asking me this question. National Geographic, you know the brand, they were launching a new TV series called One Strange Rock. And it's a planet Earth seen from far. And so they wanted to be relevant to another audience. And Zed was actually the artist that was the best to do this. He's a famous DJ. And so we organized for Zed to meet with astronauts and all these people who've really seen the planet from far. And from there, he created, after being inspired by all these people, he created the music of a TV series. He created, he came out with an hashtag called Love Letter to Earth.
Yeah.
And that inspired me because from just a brief, the guy find a passion point and create something totally new.
And what's your emotional response when you see a brief like that or a pitch like that in the room?
Well, exactly. The answer is in the questions. What's the emotions? What does it give me? Give me the, ooh, this is cool. And actually you see it because people like, share and comment. That's what we call engagement and not reach. Everyone is looking for engagement.
Tell us a little bit about, I know that you were recently as part of the Cannes Lions judging panel, and you did some work with them. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what you did and how you felt?
Okay, so if you think it's cool to be a jury in Cannes Lions, think twice, because you're stuck in a room for 5 days with watching 1,000 videos a day to try to judge. That said, you're learning a lot. You're watching so many creativity from around the world. It's amazing. And what is interesting is that this creativity, I don't want to be controversial, but it's not coming only from the US or the UK. I remember a case from Peru that was absolutely astonishing. From all over the world. From Africa, Absolute did a campaign last year called One Source. It was mind-blowing. So creativity is coming from all over the world, which is nice. That said, the three things I look, being into this room, the thing we judge, it's really about storytelling, emotion sometimes, and the impact of a campaign, as I said before.
And it's across, I mean, it's a different medium, isn't it? Because you work across film and music in your day-to-day. So what is that experience like of joining those two things together?
What the two things, sorry?
Film and music and all of these sorts of things. So when you were at Cannes, did you find that you suddenly had an insight into a whole different creative pool of talent?
You mean in terms of the jury members?
Yes.
Yeah, as I said before, they're all experts in their field. And I could come to the jury room with a very clear idea saying, I'm going to give a top star to this campaign because I love it. And someone else would tell me, no, you can't do that. And so you start to debate and they give you a total different point of view you never thought about.
Yeah.
And that's this exchange of debates. That's why you're staying up to midnight.
Is that all part of the fun for you?
Sorry?
Is the debate all part of the fun for you?
Yeah, actually it is. I just pick my battles. Just the good ones, the one worth it.
And tell us, what does it take to win a Grand Prix?
A Grand Prix in Cannes. So for the one who don't know Cannes Lions too well, again, it's a festival of creativity that give awards. If you win a Grand Prix, it's very good for you and your business and your reputation. But at the same time, I don't think it should be seen as an end in itself. Mm-hmm. Winning a Grand Prix is cool. I mean, you have a big trophy and you can put it in your office or bedroom. But what I think is you need to win a Grand Prix is 4 things. The first one is it needs to tell a story. You know, ask any chief marketing officer today, they're going to tell you, it's about storytelling. I have to say, sadly, yes, it is. You need to tell a story. The second point is it needs to show consumer engagements. If you don't, and when I say engagement, it's not reach. It's what I said before, like, comment, share, click, etc. You need a zest of emotions, because if you make you cry or laugh, it's quite good. It's quite good. And the last point, you need a touch of luck, because we all need luck in our lives, don't we?
We do.
Good.
Thank you. I needed that, actually.
Good.
I'm interested because you specifically have a very interesting job, because you're merging this kind of philosophical question of creativity and seeing it through the lens of business. And so how, when you speak to young creatives coming through, what is the kind of advice that you give to them, or what do you say to them for them wanting to know how to navigate those two things together?
I think it's a good question, Barry. It's about the end of what's the end game? Why do you do that? Today, you mostly do that to answer a need. But the best ideas, I think, are the one who just come out of nowhere and you say, bugger, why didn't think about this one? That's true. Because it was so obvious. You're not answering a brief. Yes, having a good creative ideas to answer to a brief for a campaign is cool. But at the same time, coming up with brand new ideas that makes your life easier every day, that's the game we're in. So always think about what's the end game. What do you want to achieve?
And what was the last thing that you saw that thought, damn, I wish I did that? Or is there too many?
That I thought it was great.
Yes.
No idea. It's probably an app I'm using every day who makes my life easier.
Yeah, Uber's mine. Damn. Okay, we're going to open up for questions. We have some questions here, actually. Let's have a look. Yes. Olivier, how do you think creativity will be judged or analysed in the next 5 to 10 years compared to now?
That's interesting. Do you think, so let's turn the question a different way. So to repeat the question, how do we judge creativity from all over the world the question is gone. How do you think you would judge creativity in 5 to 10 years? That was a question.
Yes.
Sometimes when you ask a question like this, you need to look 10 years before. So do you think 5 to 10 years ago, we were judging creativity differently? I don't think so. A good idea always gives you emotions. A good idea always have people behind you. And so ultimately, a good idea will always stay a good idea. And by the way, a bad one will stay a bad one.
Do you know immediately when it's a bad one? Do you just stop it straight away?
Yeah, no, you have to test and you have to fail to learn it's a bad one. You have to go the hard way, but sadly.
This is an interesting one.
I love this one.
Yes, how do you overcome subjectivity on a group decision making?
I was going for the other one. How do you overcome subjectivity on the group decision making? That's a very good question. Someone was listening to what I said about being in a group and judging together. Subjectivity is by together, by debating and agreeing on what we think is the best creative idea. Because you can never go right or wrong, but together as a collaboration of great-minded people, you could come out to something subjective. And by the way, it's always difficult to get 100% of the groups agree on everything, but most of the time, you could make it.
Olivier, we have someone that wants you to make their dream come true in one of these questions. It says, what do I have to do to have the opportunity to show you that I'm a good singer?
Okay, what do you have to do to show you I'm a good singer? Sadly, I'm not someone who signs artists at Universal Music. I'm someone to make sure artists work creatively and mostly with brands. That said, if you have some guts, you stood up, you take a mic and you sing a song right now. And then we all applaud and we judge creatively if it is a good idea or not. No, I'm on LinkedIn. My email address, I know is not here, but I'm on LinkedIn. Just send me something and I promise you, be the one who has this question to listen to it and to share it.
Thank you. And then finally, what do you think that the future looks like for this conversation about creativity and major labels?
And the creativity and
labels.
Music labels?
Yes.
I see music labels as a house of talent and creative people. And it will always be like this. So it's been like this for 100 years. I don't know if you remember Dutch Gramophones is 120 years. The label is 120 years old. And he was already signing Mozart and Gershwin and all these people. And now he's still doing the same. It's just that today it's more about hip-hop, urban, and rap music.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing
Thank you, everyone.
us
Thank you for listening to me.
into UMG. Olivier.
Thank you.
Thank you.